The disrespect for Timothy Zahn is astounding to me. Dave Filoni refuses the entire time of him doing Rebels and then in live action with Ahsoka, never once consulted Timothy Zahn. Of course, he's been asked about this, if he's been consulted in any way, if he's involved in any way. But Timothy Zahn had no say in how the character was treated. He would have loved to. He's like, they don't accept my calls. They don't do anything. I'm ready and wanting to consult on this.
As far as input into the shows is concerned, nothing. They have not. They've shown me some things in advance. And with season 3 of Rebels, since I was doing the backstory in the book Thrawn, they were feeding me scripts, so I saw what they were doing. But I have not have any real consultation. They've not asked for any input. And they are very busy with other things. They know where to find me if they want me. But yeah, no, I haven't had any input into the series. I would love to have some.
This is actually a recent article by Screen Rant, May 2025, stated. And at a recent panel at Rogue One in Medford, Oregon, Timothy Zahn spoke to the apparent difficulties he's had getting in touch with Lucasfilm about Thrawn's live-action portrayal following his debut in 2023's Ahsoka. This comes from Twitter ex-user Flamrin reporting that Zahn claimed he wasn't sure if the difficulties were coming from Disney, Lucasfilm, or Lucasfilm's chief creative officer, Ahsoka showrunner Dave Filoni himself, who first recanonized Thrawn in the animated series Star Wars Rebels. Goes on to say, this is the tweet, what specifically did he say? That he's tried to reach out through every way he knows how about getting some comment on how Thrawn is handled in live action / animation, but he can never get through. He doesn't know if it's Dave himself, Lucasfilm, or Disney. That astounds me. Timothy Zahn, they're not accepting his call. Zahn deserves so much better. So while previous reports have suggested that Zahn served as a creative consultant on Rebels and had some level of involvement during the production of Ahsoka, it certainly looks as though Zahn is now determined to provide a more truthful answer, and that getting anyone to connect with him about the character he originated has not been without its major challenges, which is certainly disappointing. For a writer who created this character, and again, he's a military genius, he is so formidable, an incredible introduction. Highly recommend if y'all haven't. It's a great way to segue from your Andor Rogue One original trilogy rewatch. Go straight into listening to the Heir of the Empire trilogy. It's amazing. That's Thrawn to me, is Mark Thompson's voice. Your characters can only be as smart as the writer, and that is just so obvious what is happening with Dave Filoni's interpretation of Thrawn, because Thrawn is an idiot. He could not catch Ezra Bridger that entire time. What was it? It was years. And Ezra was just literally a speeder bike ride away, half a day's worth away, and Sabine found him immediately. But Thrawn, with all of his resources, couldn't. And also, when everything continues to go wrong, he just says, oh, I meant for that to happen. Yeah, that's not a sign of intelligence. Just because you can't accept the situation and the reality of the situation. I planned that from the very beginning for all my plans to fail. Look how smart I am. That's not a military genius. And I'm sorry, he looks nothing like he's portrayed in art. I have nothing against the actor Lars Mikkelsen, but you are not what people envisioned. You look like a blue Data. I've seen him compared to blue Elon Musk. This is just not how he was portrayed. And just physically, he doesn't show the discipline that he should. He is a military genius, very disciplined, and expects the same from his troops. What's with this hairline that they wanted to give him and the weird forehead? They lightened it up a little bit in live action. He's got like this dual swelling on his forehead. I don't know what to call it. It's even more obvious in the Rebels cartoon, his massive forehead, but also his eyes too. I hate the interpretation of the eyes. Why'd you change that? That red, full glow that completely encompassed the entire eye. And now you can clearly see the iris. It's such an integral part of the character, actually, was his stare, was his very alien eyes. It's one of the things that's the most alien about him, his eyes and, of course, his skin. And how Timothy Zahn writes, it is so vivid. And you know how he's supposed to be pictured. And it's definitely not what they did in Ahsoka. People thought that Timothy Zahn did have some sort of role or impact on the story, some sort of consultation. Previous reports have suggested that. And Lucasfilm was fine to let people make that assumption, to use Timothy Zahn's name and his assumed involvement in these shows, and then kicked him to the curb. stole his character and completely ignored him, completely ghosted him. This is the real Filoni. His ego is too massive to let superior writers have their say, but he's completely fine with letting Leslie Headland do literally whatever she wants. It is so abundantly clear that Filoni's fingers have touched everything bad. Now he's distinguished as the Ahsoka guy, not the Andor guy. I think that's huge. I'm seeing a growing vocal campaign from fans in the wake of Andor and them lamenting going back to that Filoni style of just smashing action figures together with Ahsoka Season 2. And there's moments in there, in that show, that were okay. I think Baylan Skull, probably the best part, but there's like so much needless junk in there. The fake Inquisitor that turned out to be a literal smoke monster, and they didn't refer to him ever again, but he was propped up as such a huge figure. Ooh, people had all sorts of wild theories. No, he's nothing. I just think that this is indicative of a very toxic environment at Lucasfilm and why we haven't gotten really good stories apart from Andor. I think it's obvious to everyone. We have Mandalorian and Grogu, and Ahsoka Season 2, I think, are on the immediate horizon. I think it's a massive problem. It continues to be a massive problem within Lucasfilm, the disrespect to all of those who contributed to the expanded universe and have not gotten their dues. And it seems like one of the major reasons that they decanonized the EU was because they didn't want to pay royalties. And I don't know what's going on with Timothy Zahn in this regard now, since he's written new Thrawn books, but it just doesn't sound like a great working environment for him.